Hey everyone, my name is Amanda and I'm the Fun Size Reader, and today I wanted to talk to you all about my reread of Crescent City, the first book, which is House of Earth and Blood. It's been a long time since I read this book, you guys, and with the second one coming out on February 15th, I had to reread it, and so I wanted to talk to you about my thoughts about it, see if anything has changed, as well as kind of give you a quick recap. I mean, quick, I say quick. We know this book is like 800 pages, so quick is relative. A recap of everything that happened now that it's kind of fresh on my mind. We know there's so much that happens in this book that it is so hard to like give a summary. So I'm gonna hit on some things that I may have forgotten or that I think are important or like happened at the end that kind of is gonna lead us into the next book. So first off, I'd like to call out my Crescent City swag that I have right here. My Crescent City alumni hat, which is like my favorite hat ever. I got this from Blissfully Bookish Tees. I'll put the link to their website below. I'm not sure if they still have the hat. It was very limited when I got it last year or the year before, but I love it. The other one is my Athalar sweatshirt. This is from Jess and Nat Co. I'm friends with both Jess and Nat, so I love supporting their shop. They're fantastic. These sweaters are like oversized and comfy, and you can choose whatever you want on it. So of course I picked my boy Hunt and I made it gray like his wings. I am still obsessed with this book. I sat on the couch yesterday reading the last 20%, approximately 20% of the book, just like straight through, shirked all my responsibilities, and just cried on the couch for a couple hours. I loved it even the second time through. This is a book that I want to listen to a million more times. And it was so good that I read it again because there was so much that I felt like I completely forgot about or I missed. Like there were scenes that as I was reading, I was like, I don't remember this scene at all. I don't remember it at all. And there were a lot of things that I remembered happening, or I knew like the outcome ended up fine, but I couldn't remember the details until I got there. I loved it. I want to buy it on audio so my husband and I can listen to it because I really think he'd like it too. I am so excited for the next book. Like when I read this the first time, I did not cry in it. I was emotional. I felt it. I loved it. I thought it was a 5-star. Like I'll link my spoiler and my non-spoiler reviews in this video so you can check those out. But I was just like excited and amped. And this time when I read it, I cried. I don't remember the last time I cried in a book, and I knew how this one was gonna go, but I felt like reading it the second time, you knew things were coming and you just like were so emotionally attached to the characters the second time you read it that you just like wept. I just wept. And I knew things were coming and I like had to put it down for that night because I didn't want to read certain scenes. And so I was like, it is her best writing. It is Sarah's best writing. I think it's her best book, 100%. I will die on that hill. Who knows? The second one could prove me wrong. Maybe I like that one better. But this, I do not know how she created this. It's just so complete, and reading it a second time made me look back at things that I knew from reading it the first time, and it's like J.K. Rowling when you just pick up everything that she had woven in and you just completely didn't even know it. That being said, let's do a recap. So the spoilers are gonna start here. So if you haven't read Crescent City and you just wanted to see if I still liked it enough for you to read the book, stop it here because right now is recap and we're gonna talk about the things that happened. Okay, so the caveat to this is there's so much that happens in this book. I'm gonna hit highlights, okay? I'm gonna hit big things. I'm gonna try to do this as succinctly and as efficiently as possible, but there's so much, it's impossible. I'm also gonna try to go in order, but I'm doing this from my memory, you guys. I have nothing written in front of me. I don't have any notes. Like, I'm doing this from my memory. So if I jump around a little bit, like, we've all read the book if you're looking at a recap. So it just to jog your memory. So this starts out with BRYCE, who is the main character. We know that she is a half fae, half human female who lives in this place called Crescent City. There is a distant war going on in the land, which kind of plays this backdrop to a lot of the inner political workings in the book and a lot of like the conflict between the different hierarchies of characters. We know that there are different houses each of the magical creatures that live in this world belong to. Other houses I think are going to come into play. Obviously, the next book is called House of Breath, Sky and Breath. We meet BRYCE, and she is like a typical party girl. Her and her best friend Danika. Danika is the strongest of the werewolves. BRYCE is like essentially nothing because she's half fae and half human. So she's very much looked down upon. They are best friends. They live in Crescent City together. They went to college together. BRYCE goes out one night in the beginning where Danika doesn't come with her because it's pack night. So Danika's hanging out with the pack, and BRYCE goes out with one of her other friends, Fury. They're partying at a club. Well, Danika, being the prime of the werewolves, or set to be the prime. She's the strongest of the werewolves, but she's set to be the prime. Not in charge yet. Her mother, Sabine, is like standing in charge for her grandfather, who's very, very old. BRYCE goes out and parties one day and comes home to her apartment to find Danika, her best friend, and the entire pack of devils, which is the strongest pack of the werewolves, murdered. She is high on drugs at the time, so she's like very disoriented, leaves the apartment and sees a demon outside of the apartment, which she assumes, based on the destruction of the bodies inside her apartment, this is what killed them, and essentially chases the demon into this alleyway where the demon starts attacking somebody else, starts attacking BRYCE, and then gets away. And she realizes that the other person that the demon attacked is an angel, and she helps save the angel. Calls the emergency services, and they send out the 33rd, which is the highest like investigative in charge group of angels that works for the governor. The 33rd comes out, helps stop the bleeding of the angel that was attacked, helps stop BRYCE's bleeding. They get them to the investigative place and try to get as much detail out of her as possible as to what happened, start the investigation. We don't really get a lot of what information they have. We kind of learn that throughout the whole rest of the book. But at this point, it jumps ahead about 2 years, and we're back with BRYCE, who is extremely distraught about her best friend dying. She is now living in a completely different apartment. Turns out that it is Danika's apartment that she bought and willed to BRYCE and let her essentially live there. It's got protection spells on it to keep her there. We kind of get snippets of little things that happened before Danika died. We know that her and BRYCE went to go get tattoos earlier that week, but right before she died, that say Danika's favorite phrase, "Through love, all is possible." We know that other things happened in the Crescent City community that were like crimes. There were people that wanted to hurt Danika because of her investigation as a pack member. A couple years later, we're back with BRYCE, and she's extremely upset. She works for a woman named Jessiba Roga, and Jessiba has Griffin Antiquities that is essentially a less than legal place that sells like artifacts. Well, she gets approached one day by two angels. One of them is Isaiah and one of them is Hunt Athalar, and they are both members of the 33rd. They are both two of the angels who took her into the investigation room and dealt with her on the night that Danika died. They and the governor, who's named Micah, come to her and to Jessiba and say, we have reason to investigate Danika's death. You are the closest one to the investigation. You might know more information. We are going to need your help in this investigation. We have to catch the murderer essentially before this big summit meeting, which is in like a month or so. So we need this figured out. So Jessiba agrees to have BRYCE participate in this investigation. And to do that, she essentially has to partner with one of the 33rd who works for the Archangel. His name is Hunt, and they partner together to do this investigation. Now, background on Hunt, he is an angel. He was a commander of the war 200 years ago where the humans and some of the angels were trying to rebel against the side that was keeping their hierarchy. Hunt is actually a slave now, which was his punishment for his side of the war losing. He actually works for the governor, Micah, to pay back all of the deaths that he caused. So because of this, he's got a halo tattoo around his head, and he has to kill whoever Micah deems that he needs to kill. But the halo actually dulls his powers and makes him not as strong, even though he is extremely strong. He has the powers of lightning. He can basically shock the hell out of a lot of things. So they start working together. I could go into all of the details of this, but we know I'm just gonna hit the highlights. The whole rest of the book is their investigation of what actually happened. They go to different places, they talk to different people, they get all kinds of different clues that lead them along different paths. But while they're doing this, they actually have more murders that are caused by this kristallos demon. They have more demon attacks. They themselves get attacked by the demon. It attacks Hunt. More characters kind of come into play. So we meet Rune, who is BRYCE's half-brother. He is, so BRYCE's family structure, there's BRYCE, and then we know her parents are Ember, Quinlan, and Randall, and they're both humans. Randall is not her true father. Her true father is the Autumn King, who's the king of the Fae. He has another legitimate son whose name is Rune, and he is the chosen star-born child that is gonna basically ascend to the throne once his king dies. Her stepfather, Randall, who she calls her real father because the Autumn King wants nothing to do with her. He was a human that also fought in wars alongside Hunt, so he knows who Hunt is and is a sharpshooter, has taught BRYCE a lot of these skills. We find out that an artifact from the Fae history called the Horn went missing, and it went missing before Danika died, so a few years ago. And the Autumn King has put Rune, BRYCE's brother, in charge of finding that. So the investigation for the Horn and the investigation for the murders start to intertwine together. They start to find a lot of clues that tell them that they could have something to do with each other. They may not have something to do with each other. They're kind of conflicting. There's a lot of character development throughout the whole book because there's an entire storyline of how deeply BRYCE is hurt by her past and how deeply Hunt is hurt by his past, and they're being forced to work together. And so obviously they're going to start like connecting over these things. And that's one of my favorite pieces of the story, is that you see them grow together and get support by somebody who understands what they're going through. And like that love story that develops is just, it's amazing. I love it so much. Important things that kind of happen along these lines. So we know the Horn. We find out that the kristallos demons are actually brought from hell to search for the Horn based on past Fae history of why the Horn was created. So the kristallos demons seek it out. So that's why they start to think that the murders have something to do with the Horn being gone, that the kristallos demon, whoever is summoning the demon, is looking for the Horn to be able to use it. But the Horn is broken and they don't think that there's any way to repair it. But then they get word that there's this synthetic magic, which is essentially a drug called synth that was leaked onto the streets 2 years ago, right around the time that Danika died. That is thought to maybe repair the horns. They think it is to open the gates to hell. The heartbreaking parts to this that we all need to remember is, as you know, BRYCE and Hunt's relationship and friendship develops, BRYCE gets a lot of really bad treatment by the wolves because they think that she's partly to blame for Danika dying. They treat her very, very badly. So at one point they treat her very, very badly, and Hunt goes to punish the leader of the pack that does that. And the head of the wolves, Sabine, does not like that and requests by Micah, the archangel, that Hunt is punished. And Micah cuts Hunt's wings off. That was a really hard scene, you guys. It was really, really hard. We know that that kind of spurs Hunt and BRYCE to realize that they actually care about each other and express that care. We also know that BRYCE's leg injury from when she was attacked on the night that Danika died still had venom inside of it. And so they take BRYCE to a med witch who has been helping with the investigation as well. She extracts the venom, which has been hurting BRYCE this whole time, and is trying to use her magic on the venom to stabilize it because she believes that it is the antidote for the synthetic magic, the synth drug. So that's really important. That plays a key point that I think I forgot about later. This med witch develops this antidote and gives BRYCE some of it because the venom came from her leg. And she was like, here's a little vial of it, just in case you ever need it, because they're, investigating this and all these things keep attacking them. We find out that Danika worked at the place where this synth was being developed. And BRYCE finds a hard drive in Danika's jacket that has hidden files specifically for BRYCE to find that shows the trials of this synth. It basically makes them be super, super, super strong, and then they tear themselves to shreds. And it looks exactly like the carnage that was left in BRYCE's apartment the day that Danika and the pack died. She is trying to figure out where this is coming from. They're trying to find the dealers. One night she is told by one of the mer people, Therion, I believe his name is, that there is a drug deal going down. She meets Therion down at the water. They get there. She realizes that the 3 people that are buying the synth from the Viper Queen are Hunt and 2 of the other angels. Cue instant heartbreak for BRYCE and me. Hunt is buying it, and the purpose behind it was to spread it to other fae and other angels to make themselves stronger so that they could break out of their bonds and kill the people that were enslaving them and essentially make this war that they lost before happen again and be successful in it. Now BRYCE wants nothing to do with Hunt because he knew about all of this and he went behind her back and he was still trying to buy the synth and use it and rebel. And Micah finds out and kills the other 2 angels. Well, one was a wraith, but an angel and wraith that were doing it with Hunt. But because Hunt had tried to stop the transaction after he saw the footage of the synth making them rip themselves apart, he tried to stop it, but the other 2 didn't want to listen. Because he did that, Micah decided not to kill Hunt and decided to do what was worse and sell him to Sandriel. And we know that Sandriel is one of the other archangels. Hunt absolutely hates Sandriel. He was sold to her before. He lived for years under her punishment and torture. And she is the sister of Hunt's lover who led the rebellion that he was captured in many, many years ago. And Sandriel actually killed her. Her name is Shahar. The summit is coming. BRYCE doesn't want anything to do with Hunt. He is sold to Sandriel. Basically, everyone's like, this is over. They are told by Micah that Danika was behind the drugs actually being on the streets. So now BRYCE is really upset about Danika. They said that, Danika was the one that actually killed the pack. Bryce doesn't know what to believe anymore. Well, the day before the comitium, which is this meeting that they all have to go to, she tries to buy Hunt back. She tries to use money from Jessiba to pay for him. It's like 90 something million, whatever their currency is. She takes off the amulet that was supposed to be protective from her, that Jessiba makes her wear, tries to trade that. In addition, they basically say, no, you can't. She then tries to take Hunt's place, and Rune comes in and says, you can't do this, you're our princess, and her parentage of being the bastard daughter of the Fae King is revealed to everybody. So now everybody knows that she is, and she is pissed at Rune. They leave, she runs away, she ends up getting attacked by one of the kristallos demons, like almost immediately after she took off her protection amulet. Let's take a breather for a second, because this has been a lot, you guys. This is a lot. There's still so much more that happens. We go to the comitium, or continuum, or whatever it is. Hunt is a prisoner there. All the leaders are there. We find out that the med witch that has been helping them try to stabilize the kristallos demon venom is actually the new queen of the witches. Nobody knew that she was. So she's part of all of the leaders. Micah, who's the governor of Crescent City, says, I can't be there today. I have a meeting. I have an appointment. He's not there. And we flash over to BRYCE, where we find that Micah didn't actually have an appointment or a meeting. He shows up at Jessiba's gallery, where BRYCE is, and tells her everything that happens. But before he does this, BRYCE knows that something's wrong, and she tells Jessiba, who has the entire gallery cameraed, she tells her, pull up the camera feed and display it. So it's all displayed at the continuum meeting. They're watching everything that is occurring, where Micah essentially tells BRYCE that Danika was the one who stole the horn, that she had it ground down into powder, that she put it in BRYCE's tattoo, and she did this because Danika knew that BRYCE was also Starborn Fae. Now, we knew that BRYCE was also Starborn Fae because of an incident that happened with BRYCE and Danika. They were in a bad situation where they were about to be killed. BRYCE told Danika to close her eyes, and she basically unleashed this starlight power that she has, completely blinded everybody, and then killed them to prevent them from killing Danika and herself. So Danika and BRYCE's parents are the only two people that knew that she had the Starborn Fae powers, way stronger than her stepbrother or half-brother Rune. Because she has the starlight powers, she can use the horn, but the horn is broken. So the only way to heal the horn is with the synthetic magic. So Micah knows this, and he injects BRYCE with synth. So now everybody is watching her powers rise up and heal the horn to be used to try to open portals to other worlds, because Micah wants to basically take over other worlds. This is where it starts getting hard, you guys, because we haven't even talked about Lehaba the whole time, but Lehaba is the fire sprite who protects the books in the gallery, and she ends up sacrificing herself to save BRYCE. And Syrinx almost dies because Micah throws him in the aquarium with the knock, and it was just chaos. So once Lehaba dies, to try to give BRYCE more time to get away from Micah, BRYCE runs upstairs and puts together Jessiba's gun that's on the counter. And as she's doing this is why the antidote part was important. She reaches into the safe where she had stored the antidote that the new queen of the witches sent her, and takes it so she doesn't rip herself to shreds after. And everybody at the continuum thinks that that's what's going to happen. No, she had the antidote. So she takes the antidote, which takes a few minutes to go into effect, and puts this gun together and essentially shoots Micah, kills him, and then takes Danika's sword that she left with BRYCE the day that she died and cuts him up into pieces, lights him on fire, and then vacuums up the ashes. So now she's killed a governor, which is really, really, really bad. And then she goes outside to try to get help and realizes that Micah had used the horn with his power and opened up the gates of hell. And now the entire city is being attacked by demons. She decides to go fight them. She has not made the drop. Reminder for everybody. The drop is when the fae or magical creatures basically get their life converted into their immortal life. And BRYCE has the ability to do this because she is part fae. She was gonna do it with Danika. They were gonna be anchored by other parts of the pack, but they were gonna do it together. Danika died, so BRYCE never made the drop. So she can die. She goes to help save all of the people, and there's nobody there to help because they're all at the meeting and they're watching everything happen. So then everybody starts freaking out and trying to get there. Micah had thwarted things so they couldn't get there, and Sandriel doesn't want to deal, like, she wants them all to die. She is calling the Asteri, the high up people, telling them that they need to essentially bomb and decimate the city. So they start sending people to do that. Meanwhile, find out from BRYCE, because she starts trying to light up the gates to close them. Her father finds out that she has the Starborn gift. Her brother finds out that she has the Starborn gift. Hunt finds out. Everybody finds out. The Med Witch decides to remove Hunt's crown because there's a lot of bad decisions being made about not helping and making things worse because Sandriel wants to be in charge. So as soon as Hunt's powers are back, he decides to use them, and he roasts Sandriel from the inside out with his lightning and kills her. Yay! And now they need to get to the city to try to help BRYCE because there's nobody else there to help. They take Fury's helicopter, they get down to the city. She is in really, really, really bad shape. The bombs are being dropped on the city, and essentially Hunt dives down into the city on his not fully formed wings and throws his body over her right as the bomb goes off to try to save her. In the process, he is like ripped in half and is going to die because of this, the way that this bomb is. She tries to fix it and tries to use the gate that has been absorbing people's power over centuries to make the drop, but she makes the drop unanchored. And while she does that, or because she does that, she essentially doesn't have any way to get herself back because she doesn't have an anchor to help pull her back. While she's making the drop, it's Danika that meets her down there, and they essentially go through her drop together. And Danika gives her the last tiny little bit of spark of life that she had left in the afterlife, and uses that magic to push BRYCE up to ascend and complete her drop. And I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. You guys, it was so sad. Really sad the second time you read it. Anyways, she comes back. She's now immortal. Hunt is trying to save her. In the process of trying to use her powers to close the gates and using the drop power to do that, it essentially repairs the entire city, and everybody who was alive is essentially fixed. So because Hunt hadn't died yet, his whole body's back to normal, and he is trying to shock her body to keep her alive and awake, and she comes back. Yeah. So Crescent City is saved. And then at the end, very end, and this is important, and I haven't even talked about the demon that they summoned, but it's important that we remember that the Asteri saw everything that happened and don't want BRYCE and Hunt, who now doesn't have his halo, using all of their powers to try to take over the hierarchy. So they basically gift to them Hunt's freedom from slavery and tell them, live your life quietly in Crescent City together. We give you our blessing. So that's kind of where we leave off with them. The epilogue of the book shows us Jessiba and a cat who is sitting on a bench, and they are talking. And we know from earlier in the book that the cat is a demon prince, and he actually spoke to BRYCE when she saw the oracle. When she saw the oracle when she was 13, blinded the oracle. Nobody knew why. Everyone thought it was really bad. The demon has kind of been comforting her and watching her all along, and he ends up telling Jessiba, like, things are going to happen now. So now I don't know what those things are, you guys. Like this, I know this was such a long video, but like there was so much that happened. There was so many big things, and I like skipped over a lot of things too. So, yeah, what a book, man. What a book. Like there's a reason why I think this is like my favorite book. People always ask, what's your favorite book? And there's just so many that I love, but I honestly think this one is my favorite. And I hope the second one outdoes it. I hope it does. It's just a masterpiece. Like, chef's kiss. It's so good. All right. If you made it through that with me, kudos to you. Hopefully you guys remember things now and can go into book 2 feeling a little bit more comfortable that you remember what's going on. If you have any questions, leave them below in the comments. Mark them as spoilers so that people don't like read them or whatever, and I will try to do my best to answer them for you based on my recent reread. I may not remember or have answers to everything, but I will do my best. Thanks for chatting with me for so long about Crescent City 1, House of Earth and Blood, and I can't wait to read book 2 next month. Don't forget, you can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at TheFunSizeReader. See you guys next time.